With the beginning of fall, now is the time to start your skin prep for the holiday season. From facials to peels, laser treatments, Botox, and more, Alace Med Spas can create a personalized skincare experience just for you. For 20 years, they have served as the trusted partner in helping thousands of people in the Salt Lake City area love how they feel, look, and live. Visit Alace.com or call 801-49-LASER to make an appointment today. Mention Small Lake 15 at your appointment to save 15% off your first treatment with Alace. That's Small Lake 15, SMALLLAKE 15 to save 15% off your first treatment with Alace.
We're University of Utah's performing arts presenter. We're based at Kingsbury Hall, which is an iconic historic theater. It will be 100 years old in 2030. Wow. Much of what we're bringing to town are performances that have never been here before, that probably wouldn't be here otherwise. On both sides, family members, including parents who were artists. In that moment that I realized I didn't want to move away from it, that I needed to be in the studio, that I wanted to be dancing, right? So I've thought about that often, like what we say yes to opens these doors that then open doors that we can't even imagine. And it just sort of cemented for me that this is what I want to be doing. I also was excited to move home for the landscape. I think I have always felt deeply connected to this place. And family was another big pullback. I loved listening to you talk about your mom earlier in this episode, and I, too, am very, very close to my mom. But really what I want to talk about in response to that question is who's coming next, so that hopefully people can come see some stuff.
Yeah,
is that okay?
Yeah. Who do we have upcoming?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I do want to say pretty much every show we start tickets at $10. But, I think part of what we can do is, to our conversation, like, try new things. Check out this organization, check out that venue, like, get around town. There's so much amazing stuff happening in the creative community here.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Lake City Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Nilsson, and this week we are joined by Chloe Jones, who is the executive director of UtahPresents. UtahPresents is the organization at the University of Utah that manages the schedule and performances at Kingsbury Hall. Now, it hosts a diverse amount of different performances, from a cappella groups to jazz music to circuses and everything in between. Not only do we talk about UtahPresents, but we also talk to Chloe about growing up in Utah, especially in a very creative-based home, going away for school, finding herself in Martha's Vineyard, managing a creative and performance space, to now coming back to Salt Lake about 2 years ago, and what that has meant for her and her appreciation for everything that makes Salt Lake great. So whether you are a fan of creativity, a fan of what's going on in Salt Lake, or anyone else, there's definitely something you're going to love from this episode. So I hope that you enjoy. I mean, it's usually never like most people are like, when do we start? I'm like, we kind of have started. Chloe, I'm excited today because, kind of like what I was talking to you about, it might be a good soft open, but my life has been, I don't want to say plagued by theater, musical theater, Shakespeare, but growing up, my mom, like, if there was a play in town that she wanted to see, especially Les Mis, like, she will die on her hill that Les Mis is her favorite musical in the world, we would go. My mom and my dad had season passes to Capitol Theater. I've been to, pretty much every venue in Salt Lake that could perform something like that and do so. Like when we went to England one summer, for spring break once, and we went to, we were there for 2 weeks. We saw 3 Shakespeare plays, 2 musicals, and one other something. I can't remember what it was. And then I got back and told people, they're like, that's different. Because I didn't realize that wasn't how everybody else experienced things.
Did vacation?
Yeah. Lots of those, lots of that. And usually when we go somewhere, there's some sort of ticket to something involved. But
I love it.
Chloe Jones, the director of UtahPresents.
We are based at Kingsbury Hall, which is on campus.
Yes.
I can share more. But we do sometimes partner with other venues and get outside.
Got it.
Of Kingsbury Hall.
Yeah, it's fun to see when people, because again, going to what I was talking about before we started about all like live entertainment, who owns what, who promotes what.
Yeah.
There is a little overlap sometimes of who does what, but
I think that's actually great, because I think part of what we're trying to do at UtahPresents is get the word out about what we do, because there's so much happening in town, which is awesome. And I think our community doesn't always know who's putting on what, where, how, sort of how that ecosystem fits together.
Yeah, and that's been so much of my experience in Salt Lake in general, because I'm the guy who, it'll be a Friday, Saturday night, I'll check Instagram, and there'll be a story filled with people at a show. I'm like, I didn't even know that show was in town. I would have loved to go. And especially as concerts and shows have just kept becoming more and more prevalent, so many different places hosting shows. Like one example is like Garage on Beck. I mean, very much a bar, but now their work with LNE to get traveling performers come through town. And even talking with my friend Trent, who is the director of marketing for Live Nation, he'll be like, I had 12 events this week. And that's just one part of everything. And so, yeah, the more that we can know about what's going on, where to prioritize, how to get tickets, I think everybody enjoys that more because, I mean, live performances, especially in my opinion, live music is what brings people together. Like I've never once been at a show and been like, well, I think this person believes this, and I don't know if I like that person. I mean, everyone's experiencing it all in the moment, and that cascades through all sorts of, entertainment and what brings people together. And so the more that we can have a community around this, understand what's going on, and one of my biggest beliefs is branch out and try new things, everybody becomes happier. And even this year alone, I've been to Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper, Blink-182, Pierce the Veil. Fred again was last night.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I cried
I'm so
hard.
jealous.
I'm wearing the shirt right now. I actually made a reel about it because, long story short, the past 2 years have been very hard. A lot of transitions, a lot of anxiety. And I found Fred at the beginning of it. And then it's just been there's been songs throughout the whole thing that have meant so much to me. And when I got to the show, he opened with the song that is the glue of all that time to me. I Found You. Because I always assumed at the beginning of that time that it was going to be about a girl I was going to find and they were going to be this partner. But at the end of the day, it was about me finding myself and going from who I was to who I needed to be in a transition to who I needed to be for this next phase of life. And so there was a day where I listened to I Found You. I was like, no, this is about I finally found who I am, and it echoed with me. So as that whole show went on, I just was sobbing.
Yeah,
almost the entire time. And I had a friend that had never listened to Fred at all. And I was like, listen, tickets are $20. Trust me, just go. And he's like, okay, whatever. And after he's like, I get it. I'm like, thank you. That's all I ask. And so again, the more that we can do things and branch out and try new things, because I wasn't considering myself a Rob Zombie fan before I went to Rob Zombie, but I get it. Yeah. And you have these experiences, and I'm a big believer in try new things, because if you try new things, you're more likely to find new things that you do like. And the more things we find that we like, the more enjoyable life will be.
100%.
And if you stay in your lane, then you're always going to kind of confine yourself to this little bit of happiness. Well, you can be happy, but new experiences, new people, new times are what bring us all together.
Yeah. And I would say we're really all about that at Utah Presents. This ethos of trying new things is very much at the center of what we do. And so much of what we're bringing to town are performances that have never been here before, that probably wouldn't be here otherwise, artists who've never been here before, and every show in our season, one from the next, is really unique and different. There's just tremendous variety in the programming. And part of that is we're trying to cultivate an audience that is curious, that wants to go to a show that's unlike anything they've ever seen before. And they want to come back for a show that's going to be totally different from that experience. And some of those performances they're going to love, some they're not going to love, and that's okay, that we're sort of creating that culture of curiosity and open-mindedness and adventurous spirit in terms of what we're taking in.
Yeah, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, totally.
Worst case scenario, you meet someone next to you, bring a friend with you, everything goes well.
Yeah.
I just bought tickets to a show that I never heard of. Actually, I told myself I'm not going to listen to any of their music before, and I'm just going to go in and we'll see how it goes.
I love that. And have that moment of surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if we have less and less surprise in our lives, especially in the digital age where we have so much information at our fingertips all the time. And I think surprise is delightful. And when a live performance can deliver that for you, it's magic.
Yeah. Yeah. yeah, I could name 50 shows off the top of my head that, I mean, for example, the first concert I ever went to, what my mom and my stepdad dragged me to, I was like, I don't even know who this is. I'm like, Mom, like, who is Simon and Garfunkel? Like, this is so, like, this is old people music.
Where did you see Simon and Garfunkel in town?
It was at the Delta Center.
At the Delta Center.
Yeah, this was in, I'd probably been 12 or 13. And I was like, okay. And then after the show, I was like, hey, Mom, like, thank you.
Yeah.
And then my second show was at Delta Center again, and it was Billy Joel.
Wow.
And so, again, my mom took me to a lot of really good shows and introduced me to a lot of really good music. Like, her claim to fame in music is, I mean, she grew up, I mean, during the heyday of like rock music and rushed the stage at a Monkees concert once. They'll probably kill me for telling you that, but Mom, it's time to tell people.
Sounds like you need to get her on the podcast.
I should have my mom on the podcast. That'd be fun. People should get to know my mother. She's a great woman. But Chloe, I want to kind of understand a little bit how you got to be in the position that you are. Sure. I mean, especially walk through, I mean, the steps that got here. Because I know that you, I mean, born and raised in Salt Lake.
Yep.
I mean, what part of the Valley are you from? I mean, how did this, I mean, passion for what you do now get started?
Yeah, I think similarly, I was fortunate to have amazing access to the arts growing up. I'm from a family of artists. I have some deep roots here in Utah. And like on both sides, family members, including parents who were artists. My mom is an interior designer now, but she started out in textiles, and she had a sewing business, sewing beautiful contemporary textiles and soft furnishings. And her studio, for the most part, was in our home. So I grew up in a funky house over on Princeton Avenue above 1500 East, and it was part sewing studio. So some of my earliest memories are waking up to, 5 industrial sewing machines on a Saturday morning and just watching these beautiful creations come out of her studio. And even the story of that house is sort of interesting. She bought that house about 30 years ago now. It had been a grocery store. It's in the middle of a block of bungalows, but it had been a small market, neighborhood market. It had briefly been a hair salon. So it was commercially zoned, and she found it in a very dilapidated state, but she could see it. She walked in and she could see, oh, this could be a really amazing live workspace, and transformed it into the home that I grew up in, that I lived in until I moved away for college. And it was a really creative space. It was a very warm and nurturing home, and it was also an artist studio. And I think, and that was just my mom, right? I also have a lot of memories of being in my grandpa's painting studio or in the dark room with my dad, and all of those early memories, I think, they just made art life. Like, it was just inseparable. My sort of engaging with art was my engaging with life.
And I mean, being around, I mean, I can't imagine growing up around, I mean, a painter is your grandfather, a photographer is your father, and I mean, textilist. Yeah. Textile? Yeah. Around that energy. Because like I grew up in a family of like doctors. Like my mom's a pediatrician, my stepdad's a pediatrician, my dad was a neuropsychologist. Very, very different energy. Yeah. But did that, I mean, make you gravitate towards your own sort of creativity and in artistry, or did you not necessarily gravitate towards that as much? I did. I mean, also two of my uncles are visual artists, my aunt's a visual artist. I mean, really, like it's all throughout the family. And I chose dance as my artistic practice. That was the discipline, the form that really drew me. Not visual art, but dance. I took my first dance class at Tanner Dance when I was 2, and danced at Ballet West, and all growing up here. Trained with an amazing dancer and educator who still lives in town, Sophia Gorder. And so I think dance felt like it was different. Compared to what I was seeing other family members do. But I think I just learned from an early age that there was a path forward as an artist, that there was a career in the creative sector, and that could look like a lot of different things, but that my art didn't have to be a hobby, right? It could really be something that I was pursuing very seriously. Yeah, because it's interesting to see the people who, I mean, I have a lot of friends who, I mean, are professional artists. I have friends that are artists that, I mean, sell things on the side, friends that are artists that don't do anything with it and it's just a hobby. But I mean, the hardest part of becoming an artist and a lot of the stories that I've heard is, I mean, trying to make it actually work. And there's always this like grind of making it happen. But it's got to be so comforting to live in this family where it's like, hey, look at all these examples of people who made it work and actually did it. And that's got to alleviate a lot of the anxiety in this, is you're looking at dance and being like, well, can I do this? And is this the space that I want to go in? Instead of, I mean, if I were to do that with, I know the exact conversation would be with my mom. If I were to go to her and be like, I want to be an artist, like she'd probably say something that would be her real reaction, being like, well, how are you going to like live your life? And be like, oh, just kidding, I'm supportive. But like, which is normal for a parent to hear something like that. But I mean, have a different reaction from your parents, I would assume.
Well, I think my mom said the same thing to me. And, you know, to be clear, she had a business as a seamstress and making soft furnishings, and then segued into interiors. My dad started a business brine tramping on the Great Salt Lake. You know, my aunt, who I mentioned, is also a landscape designer. So everybody has sort of found their ways, right, to make a living in and outside of creative sectors. And I've done the same, right? I'm now working in an administrative capacity as an arts leader. But I think that there's a foundation for me of personal connection to art making and to experiencing art, also as an audience member. And yeah, I think that kind of ecosystem that you're talking about is something I got really interested in as a young adult, as I was sort of thinking more and more about all the different roles that people play to make our arts economy work. And it is really hard to be a full-time artist in our society. I think there's a whole conversation we could have about artistic labor and whether we even think of it as labor and how we value it. And people have to get really creative, but people are doing it, right? People are making all kinds of lives for themselves and careers within the arts.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting to see how that does happen, because I mean, even think of like the artists that I know of, like, for example, Jeff Hine, who's one of the best portrait artists in the world, but also lives here in Salt Lake. He has the Hine Atelier, and his way to make a lot of it work was by teaching. So he always has like 8 to 12 apprentices under him. He has a digital school that he teaches as well. And then we have people like, Mark Brian Taylor, who's, amazing landscape and still life artist down in Alpine. And he created his own kind of like plein air or transportable easels that have blown up as well. Not to say that they like couldn't make it work with their art, but there's also like these other things that people can do to, make it more consistent or make it a little bit more substantial to create that life that they want. Because again, like it's not just, the creative people are what bring it all together, and everything else helps support them and give them and put people in front of them and give them the platform that they need. But at the end of the day, other people do have to come in and make it all happen, because you can't just be a traveling artist and put up a sign and say, hey, come see me and have it work and have the space that you need. And so you have this experience growing up in this household of a lot of creativity, a lot of fun energy that you can feel. And then you go off to school to Wesleyan. What was your thought going into there, or were you still figuring out how you played a role in all of this that you'd experienced growing up?
Oh, totally. I always loved school. I feel like I got an amazing education growing up here in Salt Lake. I was fortunate to go to Roland Hall. And I was really serious about academics. And so going into college, I was sort of torn if I wanted to pursue dance, if I wanted to go to a conservatory program, or if I wanted to focus on other academics. And Wesleyan really felt like it offered both. And I showed up not knowing what that was going to look like, how those 4 years were going to unfold. And I ended up actually sort of moving away from dance. And it was in that moment that I realized I didn't want to move away from it, that I needed to be in the studio, that I wanted to be dancing. And I ended up majoring in dance at Wesleyan, but my experience of dance there was really multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. Some of my dance classes were my most reading and writing intensive. So my kind of experience of dance really blew open, and it became a lens to engage with the world. And it just became so much more than a studio practice or an artistic practice. And I also, while I was at Wesleyan, I got a job working for the director of the University Center for the Arts. And that was an amazing experience. And it was an experience of having my eyes opened to the ecosystem of how do we actually make the arts happen in this country. And I got really interested in that. How are the arts funded? How are the arts produced? And I think that was a big part of why I decided to do what I've done since college.
Yeah. It's fun to have those experiences where, I mean, because you go into this experience of working for this guy and you're like, I don't know how this is going to work into what I want to be. And I mean, so many people have that experience with, I mean, college jobs, internships. There's a lot of different ways that you can get into different forays of things. But to have that come together, be like, oh, this makes, and like now we know how the story goes to say, yeah, this did end up becoming more of what you did want to do, but still be connected to this passion, still have time in the studio, and also learn to appreciate more of like the art of it. Cause it's interesting talking to people about, I mean, that study something creative or like an art, like some form of art. And it's like, there's two kinds of experiences they can have. Some people go to like, I just want to paint. I just want to create. I don't want to learn about art history and like theory and kind of a lot of the more traditional ways of learning about it. But it's like, started being more of a creative person myself and learning more about like, I mean, the history and studying it as like an actual subject or topic. I enjoy that a lot because I also, I mean, I love learning. I did love college. I love, I mean, I'm a sponge of a lot of things for good or for bad. But to be able to have like all of these experiences happen in one, that really does create such a strong platform and foundation for what you do end up becoming has got to be a good experience. And I mean, especially to see, like you said, to see these passions that you have that you almost like, it sounds like kind of tried to ignore, try to be like, dance, we're at school now, we can't do that. Be like, actually come back here. I'm not done with you yet. You are still a part of my life, and put together these passions and different avenues into what would look like a career path that you could see and have some sort of structure in front of you for it. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is about what you say yes to. And in that moment, you don't necessarily realize that yes is consequential, right? So I remember being offered this internship in college, and I wasn't even sure if I should take it. I was like honestly debating if I should take this internship or not. And I think that internship really transformed the rest of my life. And in some ways, it feels like it was a simple yes, right? So I've thought about that often, like what we say yes to opens these doors that then open doors that we can't even imagine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's fun because like I've learned to become, a yes person, like, and it's fun when you realize the times you say no, you miss out on an opportunity. Like there's so many times, and I don't know why my brain keeps going to like concerts and shows, but like there's multiple, this is going to sound so stupid in the context of what we're talking about, but I remember I was in college and Drake and Lil Wayne were playing at USANA and someone's like, hey, I have a ticket for $25. And I was like, I don't know. It's all the way out there. Yeah. I don't know if it's $25. And I'm like, you idiot. Like, why didn't you do that? Two of your favorite artists of all time. And then even for the Fred show, like I had someone who was supposed to come with me, but they couldn't make it. And it was like literally everybody I texted like, oh, I'm already going. And then one friend, they said they wanted to go. And then he's like, listen, I have to travel all next week for work. I did stuff all day. I'm tired. I want to do it. I'm like, no worries. Like, I'm not going to like beg you to go to
saying no is good too.
Exactly.
For sure.
It's not
can't always
binary.
be yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's so true. You never know what show you're going to walk into. Even an artist who you know well, you don't know what your experience of that show will be that night. And where there's an artist who you don't know, back to this sort of element of surprise, I think you just don't know what you're going to get out of it, right? And, we're talking a lot about that in the performing arts industry because we are coming out of a pandemic. And I think audience habits have changed. All of our habits have changed in terms of what we're going to or when we're staying home, how much we're staying home. And I think it's really good to remember that. Like, you just don't know what your experience of the show will be. Maybe it will leave you in tears. Maybe it will have you laughing out of your chair. Maybe it will feel profound. Maybe it won't. But part of what we have to be interested in is that unknown. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, totally agree. Some of the best experiences of my life have been at shows that I didn't even know I was going to have a good time because, and like, I love this experience. Even going back to the show I'm going to that I haven't listened to a single song of.
Yeah.
There was one of the first, like the best musical experiences I had, like the first one, I'll never forget. I was in high school and I don't know if you remember the band like Rat-a-Tat.
Yeah.
So Rat-a-Tat was coming into town and I was like, oh, I've heard a couple songs here and there. I don't know. So I was like, just come. Tickets are like $18. Let's go. And I just remember being in like the front row, just in the pit and just being like, this is like what live music is. This is the emotion it gives. Because you can go on Spotify and listen to an artist, or go watch a YouTube video of something, and you can have a good experience.
Yeah.
But listening to someone live and listening and having that experience, especially collectively with other people, is a so completely different thing.
Totally.
And so whenever I have like a friend where I'm like, hey, listen, there's this show, it's going to be great. Like, it's even like tickets are cheap, whatever. And they're like, I don't know. I'm not really like a live music person. Like, I'm not this. I'm like, I get you don't like want to be around a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because like in general, I don't like to, but for shows and like where I know there's going to be a lot of good energy, it's only magnified. But like going to something like, like the state fair, for example, like I don't need to be around a lot of people looking at like a bunch of cows and pigs. Like that doesn't quite do it the same way for me.
No, I have the same experience. There are several artists I can think of where, maybe Spotify recommended a song. And so there was a song I knew or a couple songs I knew. And then I saw they were coming to town and I went to see them, never having listened to an album, and have fallen in love, right? And now they're some of my most listened to artists, and I will listen to their albums start to finish over and over again. And I think one of the challenges that we have at Utah Presents, but it's also part of what's fun about what we do, is a lot of the artists who we're presenting, because they're not musicians, they're not on Spotify. And so our sort of way of introducing our community to them is often really limited until they get here. And then we're, again, asking our community to trust us and show up, even though they don't know necessarily what they're going to see.
Yeah, and it can go so many different ways. And then like you have to open up yourself to that experience. Because, using internships and college experience as an example, like I did, pretty much like 3 or 4 internships during college, and all of which were like, no. Like, this is not what I want to do.
Totally.
But at the same time, like being able to check something off a list or going to a list and circling like the right thing, still try to get you towards the same answer. And so net, every experience is going to lead you down one of those paths or the other. So you might as well go do it. But again, you don't have to say yes to everything. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to saying no is good. Know your boundaries, know your energy.
Yeah. But say yes more.
But say
Come
yes
to more shows.
Yes, absolutely. So cool. So you're at Wesleyan, you have this experience of kind of seeing the creative side of things, and like the infrastructure of it and how, performances and shows come to be. After graduating, I know you stayed kind of more on the East Coast and some of your experiences there. But what did the early part of your career look like at that point?
So I went to Martha's Vineyard.
I love Martha's Vineyard.
I had never been. Growing up in Utah, I had really no concept of the place. It was like a mythical island. And I went for what I thought would be a summer internship at a really amazing organization called The Yard. It's a 50-year-old organization, primarily an artist residency for choreographers and dance makers, but also a performance center with a lot of educational programming. And I went out there thinking it would be my one summer on the Vineyard, and I had the best summer of my life. I got to meet and work with artists from all over, an incredible team at the Yard. And in August of that summer, I got offered a full-time job. And so I ended up staying at the Yard for almost 8 years. I did eight summers total.
So did you stay in Martha's Vineyard in the off season as well? Or did you?
I did initially.
Okay.
And it was hard, to be honest. It's very rural there in the winter. And also, the island really empties out. The population shrinks dramatically. So I did a couple winters there year round. And then I sort of gradually started spending more and more time in New York City. And I would be on the Vineyard for our summer seasons, which was incredible for an arts nonprofit career to lead me to a New York City Martha's Vineyard gig. It was sweet. So, and I just, it was a very formative time for me, for sure. I had a lot of opportunity to grow with that organization. And it just sort of cemented for me that this is what I want to be doing.
Yeah. And it's so fun to get those great experiences. Especially away from Utah, because I love this place. This podcast has more or less been like my love letter to Utah and Salt Lake.
I love that.
But at the same time, like the getting away have been great experiences in themselves. It's not to say this is the best, everything sucks. Like I never think that binary about anything, but also to be able to go, in your case, to go to like, a place very, very different than Salt Lake, but then also have this experience in New York, doing and being in the heart of what you wanted to do and getting that experience. And quick side tangent on Martha's Vineyard. So
yes.
My high school girlfriend, she, her family has a house on Chappie in Martha's Vineyard. And it was always this joke in high school. She's like, oh, you should come visit. You should come visit. I'm like, okay. Like, my high school kid, I can't just get on a plane and go.
Not easy to get there, especially in Chappaquiddick, which is an island off the island. and again, this is like pre-iPhones. I had a flip phone, but so yada, yada, yada. We ended up dating like the end of our senior year. And she's like, well, now you have to come visit. And I was like, and my plan at that time was like, okay, I'm going to graduate, go on a mission sometime in the fall, and sayonara. Right.
And so I do. So I make it out there, which is wild because you fly into Boston and then you get on your Peter Pan bus.
Yes, you do.
And you get all the way through there, and then you get on your ferry, and like, which now.
And then you get on your car ferry to get to Chappie.
Yep. And so. And in that time, like, I had never traveled alone like that. The only time I traveled alone was like for summer camp, where you have like your Delta person like carrying you, putting you on the flight and taking you where you need to go. And so I go to Martha's Vineyard for a week. I mean, it was amazing. I love small beach towns. I mean, doing it on the East Coast was fun. I mean, I went to Cape Cod 2 years ago, and like that was super fun. Very, very similar vibes, but I love that East Coast small town, coastal towns like Rhode Island, Connecticut, all of those areas. But so I get there, and it was fun because like she's one of 12 kids, and so like 3 of her brothers were there, and we just had like a kind of a full house of fun people, and everyone was young. But coming back, things got interesting. So I get my way back to the airport, and I get there, and they're like, "Oh, your flight's canceled. There's a hurricane coming in." This is in 2009, and I'm like, and again, I don't have a phone. I don't have like a credit card.
There's no service anyway.
Exactly.
So
and so I call my mom, and I'm again crying. I think this is the episode I've admitted to crying the most, but it's okay. Let it
the
out.
arts, they draw it out.
Oh, don't get me started. And I'm calling my mom like, Mom, my flight's canceled. I don't know what to do. I don't have any money. And she's like, okay, hold on. Give me 15 minutes. So she hangs up. I'm wiping away my tears. And she calls me back. She's like, okay, there's going to be a shuttle that's going to pick you up in 10 minutes. It's going to take you to a hotel. Your flight is rebooked for 8 in the morning. There'll be a shuttle to pick you up at 7.
Go, Mom.
Like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I will. And like, thankfully everything like worked out. But it was just one of those like, I'm an adult. Just kidding. No, I'm
I
not.
need to call my mom.
But Martha's Vineyard itself, I mean, unreal. I mean, I can't imagine having never been there before being like, so this is my son. It sounds like the ultimate like rom-com setting, meet cute, down. Yeah.
100%. 100%. We had a lot of fun that summer, and we were all living on the organization's campus, so it's like staff and artists are all living together. And, yeah, I mean, I had never experienced island life. It was just so different from anything that I knew growing up here. But I do think for me, there's always been this pull towards landscape that I find inspiring. And I think that is also partly a product of growing up in Utah with several river guides for family members, artists and river guides. That's really...
It's a good combo.
Yeah, it's an amazing combo. But I think this sort of attachment to place and landscape that can meet the sort of inspiration that I'm finding in art is something that I've wanted and that I found on the Vineyard in a very different way than I find here in Salt Lake.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's a reason we have so many landscape artists in Utah, because literally look anyway and you're like, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. But at the same time, like the Utah beauty is one thing. And when you experience other places, like when I lived in, Washington, being like, oh, Mount Rainier is super cool. Oh, the sound is really cool. Look at Olympic National Parks, the San Juan Islands, North Cascades, and just being taken back by it all.
Yes.
But then at the same time, you start driving through the Midwest, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, I don't like corn or soybean nearly this much. But to be able to go to, again, like, a East Coast coastal island town is about as far opposite of the pendulum swing of Salt Lake could be.
Yeah.
So it's got to be such a great experience to get away from it all, even after having gone away to school and having, those kind of experiences kind of like leading to each other and like these different stepping stones. But thinking about your time, in Martha's Vineyard and then in New York, what were some of those highlights? Whether it be shows you did or people you worked with that made it all worth it?
Well, I think part of what was so magical about my experience at the Yard, both my time on Martha's Vineyard and also in New York City, is that we were really focused on supporting artists in making work. And as a residency center, we were paying artists to come for creation residencies, to be there for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, to be in the studio making. And that's
Which is such a different
really
experience.
different. Yeah, and it's really different from bringing in a show that's been made, that's touring. And it goes back to that sort of, getting to be a part of the creative process, but also investing in the creative process. It's a different kind of investment. And having that insight into many different artists, primarily choreographers, how they made, how they approached making, and how their approach changed. We'd have artists who would be with us one summer and they'd come back 2 summers later. And that opportunity to sort of stay with artists as well through process was really just very rich, very rich.
Yeah, it's such an energy of, the creation part of things. And even in my medium of painting, I can watch someone paint. Especially, if they're good at it. But
yeah,
and good's relative. But anyway, it's such an interesting process to look at someone, see them take in what they're looking at, go through this black box, and then change something, make a mark, and to see this process come to life. Because again, most of us experience this creativity as the form of its final version. We see the painting hang on the wall. We see the choreography. We see the show. But to see the process of it being creative is a whole different energy. Especially to see people who it's I find Martha's Vineyard to be an inspiring place. I want to go create there and then be this was the right place for me to create. I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
And to be able to, enable that and be a part of that creative process has got to be such a different experience, but such a validating experience as well.
Totally. And I think as a society in America, we put a lot more emphasis on the product than the process, right? We tend to value what is created more than the actual process of creating the show, the painting. And I think it's good for us to challenge that. It was really fun to get to welcome community into the process. All of our residencies had shows. So people would come and they would see something that is in the middle of being made. And I love that. I think, listening to you was also thinking about a combination that I often think about, which is play and rigor. And that was something that I learned a lot about through my time at the Yard. There's so much play and experimentation in the process of making a performance, making a dance. And there's this real rigor around dedication to practice, to an artistic discipline, striving to sort of, up the ante to be better. And I think it's such a generative combination when you put play and rigor together. And that's what I see happen often in the arts that I love and I try to carry into other parts of my life.
No, I love that because one of my favorite people that I've studied a lot over the past few years is Rick Rubin. And in his book, The Creative Act, and most people who talk about the creative process, there's usually some sort of statement around being a childlike state of play.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a childlike state of play, there is no responsibility, there is no worry, there's no anxiety, there is no thought or external expectations. It's just you doing what you love. And then, they kind of dovetail together with this play and this rigor where, if you're in a childlike state of play, and having fun, it doesn't feel like work anymore. And you are willing to put in the extra effort. You are willing to stay longer because, again, you're having fun. You are playing and doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's when some of the most special things are created, wherever it might be. And I like what you were saying about kind of letting people into the process. Especially because it's a performance center as well. They're not just creating there with the closed doors, but letting people in on the process and trying things out. Because some of my favorite, I love stand-up comedy. That's one of my favorite kind of shows to go to that's non-musical. And I always love shows where, it's a workshop. They have their notes in hand. They're trying out different things. They'll try something and crickets. All right, well, it's done. But then you'll hear something. You're like, genius.
Yeah.
And then when I was living in Seattle, I lived right across from this really, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the name. It's this really famous theater that has been there forever. We'll have to look it up. But, and it would be fun because I would just walk home from work and I'd walk past it and they'd have big on the marquee sign of who was there. And there was one time it was Dimitri Martin, one of my favorite. He's actually just here a couple months ago. But and I was like, oh, I want to go. So we went to the show and it was fun because we saw half of what then later became his Netflix special. And so it's fun to be like, oh, here's what made the cut, here's what didn't, and kind of be involved in part of that creative process.
Yeah, and I think with live performance, audiences is key, right? It's only a live performance with an audience there. And so for artists to have the opportunity to have an audience while they're making a work, whether it's for feedback on what's funny or just sort of feedback on what are people seeing, what are people experiencing. That kind of feedback is so important. And it's an amazing experience to sort of get to facilitate that for community and for artists.
I mean, and like in both ways too, because it's not like you're just looking at the audience and seeing this like wonder in their eye, but you also get to see the creator put on the show that you've seen them create and see the reaction in the audience and see how they iterate on this and kind of just see this like whirlwind and like almost this like flywheel start to create. And then next thing you know, it's the final version's done. They're thanking you. And then you get to see, I mean, whether you do or don't get to see the final act, if it goes on tour, if it goes into production or whatever it might be, you get to see how it goes from an idea to what it is. Yeah. And so, I love that you kind of get to see both sides of that. I never thought of it on that side of seeing the creative part. But so you spend a lot of time on the East Coast, New York, split between New York and Martha's Vineyard. I mean, at what point did making your way back west come into the picture?
Swing back.
Exactly. It's
been almost 2 years since I moved home. And I moved home for a combination of factors. This job that I have now at UtahPresents was a big factor. I was just incredibly excited to step into this role and work for this organization that had really transformed in the last 10 years in really exciting ways. I also was excited to move home for the landscape. I think I have always felt deeply connected to this place, and not just Salt Lake City, but also the surrounding area, southern Utah, all of the diversity of landscape that we have access to by living in Salt Lake. And family was another big pullback. I loved listening to you talk about your mom earlier in this episode, and I too am very, very close to my mom and wanted to be geographically close to her and my stepdad and other family.
Yeah, it's, I talked about it before, but it's funny when you grow up here, because I would always see people, I mean, grow up, go to high school, maybe college, and then move away, be like, you did it, you got out of Utah. And then all of a sudden they'd be back and like, what are you doing? Like, why are you back? You got out. And then, I mean, I ended up becoming one of those people because again, like, I mean, when you live away from family, you realize how hard life can be with family. And I mean, especially if people are thinking about, I mean, kids and what that support looks like, that's hard. But then also like no one knows you like your family. Like one good kind of parallel is like kind of this group of high school friends I have where it would always we would get together, especially when I didn't live in town, I'd see them and we'd just talk about high school. I'm like, I don't want to talk about high school. I'm not that person anymore. I don't like want to go back to that. But little by little, I realized as I made other friends that no one knows that time of life than them. Like I could meet someone and tell them about it, but they weren't there. They don't know. And so there's so few people that know all of this content, I mean, context and history and who you were and who you've become and know so much of your story. And I mean, family is the ultimate example of that. And so once you, I mean, have like an adult relationship with your family, instead of going from like parent-child to like friend and like kind of the parent, I mean, it's always there to some extent or another, but to have that is, I mean, monumental. But then also, I mean, I agree, like the landscapes and the beauty of Utah is unmatched. Like, I remember when I came back from the van trip, when I went down, I think I was going to Thanksgiving or something in St. George. And it was funny doing that drive after, because I was like leaning over the steering wheel, just like, this is so pretty. Like, why don't I ever why did I take this for granted? Yeah. And so it's so fun to see how that goes.
Still astonishing. I mean, I remember the first time I drove down to southern Utah, my godmother is Blake Spalding. She owns Hell's Backbone Grill in Boulder. And so I spent quite a bit of time down there.
I was messaging her on Instagram just recently. Yeah.
She's incredible. But I go down to see her as much as I can. And I remember the first time I drove down there after I had moved home, and I was giddy. I mean, I'm like totally giddy. I was driving down by myself and just so full of awe and wonder and giddiness over this place that was suddenly home again. You know, that this was not going to be a once in a blue moon trip because I was living on the East Coast, but it was like I could go down all the time. And, you know, I think that just speaks to the power of this landscape, that it can continue to be awe-inspiring even if you've grown up here. I also love taking friends to southern Utah, or really so many places in Utah, for the first time. Remember in college, I have a dear friend, Rachel, who grew up in Singapore and lives there now again, but she came with me to southern Utah, to Boulder, and sort of seeing the place through her eyes, you know, it's just, there's so much wonder and awe and and magic in this place. It's like really real magic.
Ugh, and it's so unique.
It is.
And there's few places like it. And you can go north, south, east, or west, run into
Yes.
something completely different.
Yeah.
And even if you have been there before, there's always some new place. There's like some different like level of granularity
Yeah.
you can expose yourself to. So, because I never really grew up like. We just never did a ton of outside stuff. Like we had like our 2 trips we'd try to do every year. We'd go to Lake Powell for a summer. Sorry, not for a summer. That'd be nice. For a week in the summer. And then we'd do like a weekend camping up in the Uintas. But like we never really did like Zion trips or never really went to like Moab or anything like that. Or like really even like hiked around the valley. I mean, mostly because like, either my mom was in a failing relationship or she was single or kind of like that time had passed of like kind of showing your kids this side of things. And so as I came back, especially from Seattle, I'm like, all right, like,
Yeah.
I get it now. I do want to do that. And then that's what you see in so much of the energy of people that move here or move back. I mean, there's so many strong communities around, mountain biking, road biking, bouldering, skiing, snowboarding, everything. And because you have these people who move from all over the country and world who are like, this place is unreal. How do you not know that? Like, I can be in the middle of nowhere in 15 minutes on a trailhead after work. And so it's fun to see that, and especially to re-experience it when you do come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to talk about, Utah Presents itself and the work that you do, and a little bit more for people who may not be familiar. So maybe start off with what is
Utah Presents?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we are University of Utah's performing arts presenter. We're based at Kingsbury Hall, which is an iconic historic theater. It will be 100 years old in 2030.
Wow.
And we bring artists from all over the world and all over the country here to perform. They represent lots of different artistic disciplines, cultural forms. Their work delves into myriad issues. There's really a lot of variety in the season. Music, dance, theater, storytelling, film. We have some special projects that we get to do often in collaboration with other folks on campus. Like we host Banff Mountain Film Festival every February. And all of the artists who we bring in, we also bring out into the community for educational work. Some of that is on campus, some of it is off campus. But that's a really important part of our mission. Is it's not just the public performances, it's also connecting the artists who made those shows to Utahns of all ages in lots of different settings.
That's awesome, because I grew up going there. Again, my mother would take me to these places.
Yeah.
And also there was one, so in high school I took, as part of musical theater, I took like voice lessons and sang semi-competitively, which sounds weird to say, but really just like my voice teacher.
We're in a karaoke room right now, so.
And cute. But I remember because I love the acoustics of Kingsbury Hall.
Yeah.
Like, as I remember the first time I walked in, I'm like, oh, like this is what one of these places is like.
Yeah.
Because it's like small enough that like you can tell the difference, but and then you are there for performance or are performing, and it makes a lot of sense. But I also do love the part of Utah Presents where it's not just, okay, like here's a venue, we'll promote it, we'll bring people in, but it's also the second step of things of the educational part, where, obviously if you're on University of Utah campus, you can find a place to teach someone and someone willing to learn.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much beauty in that's like each one teach one mentality of someone who is a creator, someone who has done it professionally, to say, here's my process, here's what I've learned, here's what inspires me, and really pass that on to other people. Yeah. Because if we keep it all to ourselves, then no one knows, and no one can share in that process and that joy. But what are some of the performers that have come since you started in the past 2 years that have been some of your favorites that you've either learned the most from or been the most inspired by?
Oh, so many. But really what I want to talk about in response to that question is who's coming next, so that hopefully people can come see some stuff.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Who do we have upcoming? Because I'm
Partly,
curious.
I went there because one of the groups that's coming in October was with us last fall. And the show was so wonderful. We all walked out of the theater and I had multiple patrons come up to me, multiple audience members come up to me and say they're coming back. Not like, will you bring them back? But they're coming back. And so indeed they are coming back. This is a group called Circa. They're one of the world's leading contemporary circus groups. They're based in Australia. And we have a different piece this October. They're bringing Duck Pond, which is their mashup of Swan Lake and The Ugly Duckling. But visualize mind-blowing acrobatics, just so seamless, like incredible physicality. That's happening in October. We have a new jazz series this year. I don't know if you ever went to any jazz SLC concerts.
Mm-mm.
This was Salt Lake's flagship jazz presenter for 30 years, and it closed sort of soon after the pandemic started. And we are working with the folks who started Jazz SLC, Gordon and Connie Hanks, to start a new jazz series at Utah Presents. It's called Jazz at Kingsbury Hall. We have Delphio Marsalis and the Uptown Jazz Orchestra coming from New Orleans. Christian McBride coming in February. He's a 9-time Grammy Award-winning jazz bassist. Again, it's a lot of variety. We have the King Singers coming with a holiday show in December that will actually be next door to us at the Libby Gardner Concert Hall. They're a group from England, one of the world's most famous a cappella groups out of the King's College. We have a couple dance groups that are performing in Utah for the first time. Malpaso Dance Company, which is Cuba's premier dance group. They're coming in April. This is actually a group that I got to work with quite a bit at the Yard. They were there for a residency my first summer at the Yard in 2015. Rubber Band Dance, they're a Montreal-based group melding hip-hop and different street forms with ballet and a sort of like ballet composition. Yeah, it's a real mix, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's something for everyone.
Exactly.
And because I think a lot of people would hear, I mean, you can kind of look at different venues and have your own, assumption of what it's going to be like. Like, I would never hear someone performing at Sky and someone performing at Abravanel Hall and be like, oh, like, probably going to be pretty similar, or some sort of similarities in different performances are there. But even just in the people you've named, so much diversity, so much background, and like things that I'd be surprised if there wasn't at least one of those that someone would hear and be like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, I do want to go.
Yeah.
Especially like the jazz, like one issue I have with Salt Lake, and I don't know why this is this way, but we need a jazz bar. Like, cause I know we have Keys on Main and like piano bars, blah, blah, blah. But like, I want to be able to go sit down and have like my La La Land experience of having like a martini at a jazz bar and have fun. So don't know how this fits into the big picture of things, but that's one thing I need.
Yeah, I love that. We're definitely not that kind of a venue over at Kingsbury, as you know, but we are excited to keep alive this tradition of world-class jazz coming to Salt Lake. And I think when Jazz SLC closed, there was a real sort of hole in the ecosystem, and it's just been really fun to work on this new series. But yeah, I think there's something for everyone. We're also really aspiring for everyone to see themselves in our programming, right? We want, with the richness of cultural forms and people up on stage, for everyone to see themselves at some point in our programming. And that cultural representation feels really important to us.
Definitely. And it's it's a venue that is, like you said, it'll be 100 years old in 2030. Those walls have seen so many different shows and felt so many different emotions, and there's only more to come.
Yeah. And I've loved that, moving back and stepping into this role and talking to people about their memories in Kingsbury Hall, because so many people, especially those who've been in Utah for a while, have some memory there. And often they're really personal memories. I graduated on that stage. My kid's first dance show was on that stage. I saw my first major concert in that venue. The place itself has a lot more going on than the Utah Presents program. So we talked earlier about Live Nation. We've got comedians coming in. We have different campus and community events. And our staff at Utah Presents helps to facilitate all of those events. So we sort of support them all. And the Utah Presents program, our season, is one piece of what's happening at Kingsbury.
Yeah, so much going on. And I love like the shows that you've mentioned, and so many great, performances and things that the community can get involved with that we felt like were lacking. Like you said, Jazz SLC, unfortunately not making it through the pandemic, but then being able to be an organization that can pick up that loose slack and fill that void for people who are feeling it, and just the community in general is feeling it. But I guess as you have been in this role for 2 years, I would assume the newness of it's probably fading, but as you step into this new role and the shoes are starting to fit her on, where do you see yourself taking it personally compared to what's been done in the past?
Well, I was drawn to this organization in part because I think it underwent a transformation over the last 10 years that's really exciting. And I think the direction of the organization that I saw 2 years ago was the direction I could get on board with, that I said, yeah, this organization is doing something really right. And there's a lot of opportunity to grow awareness around it, to bring more people into the fold. I think there are some exciting ways that we can innovate within our programming. So in addition to the jazz series, this year we have one other new series. And it's really a reimagining of an existing series called Stage Door. And sort of the backstory here is, Kingsbury is almost 2,000 seats. It's a grand proscenium theater. It's not particularly intimate. A lot of work translates really well on that stage. Some work wants a more intimate space, needs a more flexible space. And so a number of years ago, UtahPresents created a series called Stage Door, where we take the audience in through the backstage door of Kingsbury Hall, and we seat the audience on the stage for the show. And the stage is so big that depending on the seating configuration, we can get 150, 200 people up there for a show. We've also done more intimate, 50 people in the round. We've kind of configured it all sorts of different ways. And I saw that platform and I thought, this would be a great way, a great format for us to use to support Utah-based artists who are making new work. So in the 2024-2025 season that we're in now, the Stage Door series is all Utah-based artists. And we're trying to use this as an engine to commission local folks. We have so many incredible artists living right here in our backyard. And UtahPresents has always been about bringing artists here, and we'll continue to do that. I think we can do that and do more to support the creatives who are here. So that's one way that we sort of, took what was a brilliant use of the venue and said, how might we put this to use in a way that's of even greater value to our community here in Utah?
Yeah, I like how that's kind of focused back on Utah itself, because to your point, there are so many amazing creators, artists, among so many different disciplines, and to give them a platform to highlight them, in such a unique and creative way only helps, bolster our creative community and highlight so many of these people that do, and it will eventually be something of it, because we do have so many great creators, but sometimes I feel like it gets so lost in the kerfuffle of like the bigger picture or like bigger, performances and shows that people are more gravitated to, that we miss out on the details. Because some of my, even when I went and saw Glass Animals at USANA, it was interesting because he opened up, Dave, can't think of his last name right now, but he's like, I remember the first time I came to Salt Lake, I played at Kilby Court.
Yeah.
And now here I am sold out at USANA. And so it's like, yeah, like people, not only like them come through, but there's also, all of the typical Utah music we think about of, Imagine Dragons and The Used and Neon Trees and yada, yada, yada. Like we know of those people, but what's next? Totally.
There's an amazing jazz band in Salt Lake called Hot House West. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
They're starting a jazz and swing renaissance is sort of how they talk about it. But they're on our jazz lineup this year, and they are leading in sales of all 21 UtahPresents productions this season. Hot House West is out front, and I love to see that. They have got over 600 tickets sold for a show that's in January.
Wow.
So to your point, I think it's really exciting to have this mix of local artists and visiting artists, again, coming from Australia, Cuba, England, Canada, all across the country on a season with performers who are based here, right here in Utah.
Totally. And I think, and I'm curious what this trend is going to play out, because I think there's been a lot of changes generally in music and shows and concerts, because everything's more expensive. Everybody wants to go see music. Like some of the tickets I paid for this year, I just laughed because of how much it was and tried to forget about it as quickly as possible.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I do want to say our tickets at UtahPresents are affordable. We're really intentional about that. So for pretty much every show, we start tickets at $10. They're limited, but if you buy early, you can get a $10 ticket. And I think last year, we've got other, like University of Utah students get a $5 ticket to any of our shows. But again, we try to make these accessible. And when we did the math at the end of our last season, I forget the exact dollar amount, but our average ticket price was under $20.
Wow.
So, it's a scale. Like we also have tickets that are 45, 55, 65, and that's a great way to support our programming. But it's a range in part so that hopefully everyone can come and not feel like, oh, it had to be this big decision. Like it was really a splurge. It's like, no, this can be something that you can incorporate into your life a lot without feeling it financially is our hope.
Yeah, because I love going to shows. And again, like going to shows you've never seen before, experiencing something new, such an easy way to do it. Because if you spent $500 on Post Malone tickets, that's one thing. And let's say it wasn't a great show, it was a great show, you're probably like bummed. But then, if you go spend $10, you could find your favorite new artist or go see someone that you know semi-well or at least know something of them. And it can be a great time. And it can be, an easy date night. It can be something if you're bored at home and see something going on, why not do it? Because I think there's going to be a lot more of those as people, again, don't want to pay multiple $100s for a ticket to go see something huge, but can also pay, $10, $20 to see a great show and like a more intimate show and get to see someone in a different way and in a new experience. I think there's going to be a lot more of that. Because even looking at so I live on, well, I'm not going to say that. So I drive past Delta Center almost every day.
Okay.
And I always look and see who's on the blinking sign, or like if people are going to a show, I'm like, what show is this? And there's been like two things I've noticed. One, there's a lot more country shows. There's a lot more Latin music shows, and there's a lot less hip hop and rap shows. And so it's interesting to see what I would call like the peak of hip hop and rap was like between 2010 and 2016, and now is more of an ebb than a flow. But then we see, and I think kind of like, EDM will always be a big part of things, but country music is back. People have leaned into a lot of like Latin music with, the proliferation of like Bad Bunny and such. But at the same time too, people don't want to spend a lot of money to go see a good show. And you don't have to make this trade-off being like, well, I guess I'll go see a bad show for a low price. But instead you'd be like, you can go see a good show for a low price and you're going to be surprised. And so I think it's cool to see what you're doing and the shows that you're bringing in and the artists that are coming. And I think it's going to dovetail perfectly with how people want to spend their time and their money.
I hope so.
I'm consider me a part of the fold.
Okay, great. We're going to get you some shows this year.
Oh, please. Because again, I'm trying to do better about saying yes. I'm doing better about new experiences. And the last time I was at Kingsbury was, it was in 2015, 2016. Okay. It was when Mitt Romney announced that he wasn't going to be supporting Trump in the election. And I was in college then, and then I moved away and came back and blah, blah, blah. But I solemnly, it's getting close to winter, solemnly swear that it is going to be part of my new process of going through what I want to see and how I want to experience and spend my money on shows.
I love it. I think we're busy, right? We're living in busy times and we can't say yes to everything. And I think we know that. My partner has started calling me a closet extrovert because truthfully, I'm often like, oh, I don't want to go to whatever it is, right? The show, the opening, the party. I'm like, oh, and then I go and I have an amazing time. I meet someone or many people who are incredible. I end up being emotionally moved by the show. It's so often, I think, or maybe for some of us, it's clearing that hurdle of actually getting there. And then you have this experience that you're so happy that you had. And also, pacing yourself. We've got 21 productions this year. So there are opportunities from now until April. And we would love to see people at lots of those shows. But, I think part of what we can do is, to our conversation, try new things. Check out this organization. Check out that venue. Get around town. There's so much amazing stuff happening in the creative community here. It's awesome. Yeah. It's inspiring to be a part of it.
You got to look in the nooks and crannies. You can't just see what's right in front of you, and you'll be pleasantly surprised.
And the city has changed so much. Again, it sounds like we both had a lot of exposure to the arts growing up here, but also the city has grown and changed so much just in the last 10 years. And that, to me, makes it all the more exciting. We have this incredible foundation of the arts here in Utah, and it's just getting richer. It's just getting more vibrant.
Yeah. And with Salt Lake becoming a bigger dot on the map, it's interesting to see how many more shows, because it's always been a place that a lot of traveling shows would come through. When I was sitting down with Kevin Kirk, founder and owner of Heavy Metal Shop, he loved moving from Boise to here because he's so many places, so many more shows would stop by and it was so much better. But it's only becoming bigger, and people are like, well, if I'm going to Denver and I have to go to, San Francisco or Vegas or whatever it is, or Seattle, might as well stop through Salt Lake. And it went from like might as well to like, oh yeah, this is a dot on the map that we want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I think there's so much optimism in the air for, performing arts, however you want to think about it and look at it. Like even I was looking at like, just as like the top of the capacity scale, I was looking at shows in LA because I was going to go for a weekend and ended up not. But I was like, there's like 20 venues that are big. Everything has like a great show. And so I'm so excited to see more of that. Like it makes me a little anxious because of like my decision paralysis and analysis paralysis. But at the same time, like the more that we can have come through, the more that the city can embrace not only the shows that come through, but also support our local artists and everything that they're doing for the community and support our own. Everybody wins. However you think about it. Everybody
wins. Yeah, I love this city. I think this is so much of what drew me back. We have this incredible access to the arts. We have this incredible access to landscape. Those of us who are here know the quality of life in Salt Lake is pretty good, pretty magical.
Pretty magical. I can sign my name on that one.
Yeah. I love that you're doing this. I think it's awesome that you are playing a part in unearthing all of these stories and just sort of what is happening in this rapidly changing, growing, dynamic city and place.
Thank you. It's been a journey. It's not been easy. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's been so rewarding. And especially now where, like I said, this week I'll be releasing episode 52, and it's been fun to go from like, obviously everybody I can learn something from, and there's a story to be told and something to learn and something to be exposed to. But at the same time, there's been so many now that like anecdotes are starting to turn into data.
Yeah.
And it's so fun just to be like, oh, like there are these common trends in people and kind of like how they got to do what they want to do, or this is what everybody loves about Salt Lake, or like this is this unique experience that people have. So it's been fun to learn so much about it, because again, like it's grown so much. There's so many different things, and once you realize how much it's changed and the direction it's going in, it opens up this whole new world of possibilities that you didn't even think was possible. Like I never thought Salt Lake was going to be this cool when I was even in college.
Totally. I also love that you call it Small Lake City Podcast, because I have to say I have been surprised moving back. Most people I meet my age did not grow up here. I feel like I'm in the minority on that, which I was not expecting. I knew there had been a big influx of people, but there'll be 6 of us at dinner and I'm the only one, or there will be 10 of us at a party, like I'm the only one who grew up here. People are coming from all over the country. And yet I still feel like I have these small lake city moments all the time. And I love that. Like it still has, for me at least, and maybe it's because I grew up here, but a sort of small city, small town feel, even as it grows.
Totally. Like in pretty much every guest I've had, there's been some sort of like, oh, so like your family member that owns Hell's Backbone Kitchen. Like I'm like, yeah, of course. So it's also wild. The more you chase the small lake city energy, it's almost insulting sometimes to see how much it just like layers on top of itself. And I'll be like, oh, so-and-so that did this with that person, and that person married this person, and now we're talking today. Like
totally. And part of that is about having a really connected community, right? Folks who are connected to one another. And how do we hang on to that as a culture as the city grows? Yeah,
and think that is the thing that I think has made Salt Lake such an amazing community, is the community.
Yeah.
Because people do, and it all stems from like the LDS roots that it was started by and the communities that they had. And then there's a lot of change broadly in the world of like perception of religion and people wanting it or not wanting it. And seeing how that sense of community that stemmed from that still stays true. And especially looking across all of the different facets that I've covered in the podcast, from, nightlife and art and business and food. It's interesting to see how all of that is still such a community focus. Mm-hmm. Like I've talked to, CEOs, it's like I was working with the other CEO of another company that's my competitor and helping me. The guys at Baby's Bagels were making bagels out of the Arlo kitchen when they were getting started. Yeah. The Black Void guys were talking about how when they would try to go to LA and have people collaborate, they're like, no, not unless you're cutting me a check. But then people here would help them all the time. The artist community is so tight knit. They have the artist nosh every month that you can go and talk with artists and get feedback and collect on it. And so it's just like all of these different ways of like this like Deseret that we all grew up hearing about in action and industry. And it's so unique that we have it, because you go a lot of other places and people don't look out for each other in the same way. And as long as we can keep that energy as people keep moving here, as things change, I think is going to be the biggest determination of our future success, because everything works better when we work better together.
Yes. I'm like, word, amen, yes.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Well, Chloe, I want to end with 2 questions I always ask every guest at the end of the episode. First, if you could have someone on the Small Lake City podcast and hear more about what they're up to and their story, who would you want to hear from?
I don't know. My mind is turning to all these places that I feel like have been important to me. Like the King's English bookstore pops into my head.
That would be a good one.
You know, like places that they feel like Salt Lake to me. And I think it would be, I'd love to hear from the people who are making those spaces happen, like making them continue to be. I don't know. Another one that comes to mind. Do you ever go to Takashi downtown?
Oh, absolutely.
So I used to go to Shogun when Takashi was the chef there. And my mom likes to joke, you know, like Takashi has been feeding me second longest to her. You know, it's like that kind of, I don't know, just these gems of places where I feel deep attachment. And it's, you know, it's people making them happen.
Yeah. People that have been feeding us for so long and have been these like staples and honestly carry so much of the soul of Salt Lake. Like King's English, I remember buying books there in elementary school, middle school, high school for book reports. And I think I bought one of the Harry Potters from there when it came out once. But anyway, like, yeah, there are these long-standing places that have so much history. And like, there's places that people, I mean, I think King's English is one where it's like most people, if you're from here, and at least, and especially grew up near the East Bench, like, you know of King's English. Yeah. But like another one that I was re-exposed to was actually, it's one of the bartenders here. Because sometimes I'll just, like if I'm on the way home from dinner or I've been at home all day, I'll just come and sit at the bar and have a drink because I have a lot of friends here, but then I also have a lot of friends with the bartenders and staff here. So I was talking to one of them and I was like, oh, like, what are you up to this weekend? And he's like, well, and he kind of paused for a second. I was like, go on. Yeah. And he's like, well, I'm a luthier. And I was like, that's a new word. He's like, I make stringed instruments. I'm like, oh my God. Like one of my childhood, like my first childhood friends, his parents were both in the Utah Symphony as violinists. And so I would go into the garage and do like violin parts. And it was always just like unique and interesting. But then there is the violin school on 3rd South. And so that's where he goes to learn how to, create string instruments. Yeah. And so it's those places similar to like Anthony's Fine Arts and Antiques that have been there for so long. Yeah. But you're like, I've never been inside. Like what's going on? And so I think that's, there's a lot of those ones that we need to highlight, both the known and the unknown, because even if you're not from here and you're one of these transplants, we welcome. There's certain
we
places.
Welcome you.
We welcome you.
No, it's true. There's such history. And then there's all these great new spaces. 2 other people who popped into my mind who are dear friends, Jorge Rojas and Color Maish, who have a relatively new gallery space called Material, and they're doing incredible work. So I love this sort of thinking about like, what are these places that have been around for 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years? What are these places that just open but feel like they're already really integral to the fabric of the city? Yeah.
I love both of those, and thankfully I've been lucky enough to talk to a lot of the people who have made both of those experiences happen. Yeah. And there's room for both. Well, I guess we can't have more old businesses, but we can have the new ones come. Yeah. And then lastly, if people want to find out more about, the shows that are coming up and about the organization itself, what's the best place to find information?
UtahPresents.org. You can find all of our events. You can get your tickets. You can also follow us on social media at Utah Presents. So we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Through the website, you can sign up for our e-news, and we try hard not to, block, spam you with too much communication. So sign up for the email.
Deal. I will sign up for the newsletter because I, again, don't want to see the Instagram stories of the shows I want to go to and that we talked about on someone else's. So,
well, we will be personally inviting you now. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Hey, love it. Thank you so much. Chloe, it's been an honor. So great to learn more about all that you've done and then all that you're continuing to do for the community. Excited to see where and what happens more with Utah Presents.
Thank you, Eric. Really a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine.
With the beginning of fall, now is the time to start your skin prep for the holiday season. From facials to peels, laser treatments, Botox, and more, Alace Med Spas can create a personalized skincare experience just for you. For 20 years, they have served as the trusted partner in helping thousands of people in the Salt Lake City area love how they feel, look, and live. Visit alace.com or call 801-49-LASER to make an appointment today. Mention Small Lake 15 at your appointment to save 15% off your first treatment with Alace. That's Small Lake 15, SMALLLAKE 15 to save 15% off your first treatment with Alace.